For every happy tenant that seems to have a decent landlord, there seems to be a dozen or so people who have fallen victim to having a bad landlord. These are their stories. A Redditor asks, can my landlord charge me $50 a month for street parking? When I moved into my apartment in the South End, I didn't have a car, but my landlord said if I got one, I could rent a spot from him for $100 a month or pay him for street parking $50 a month. I thought it was odd to pay him for street parking, so I applied directly with the city for a street parking and got a pass for $40 for the year. He saw me in my car and confronted me and said I was supposed to get the pass through him. I asked him why they gave it to me anyways, and he said he only gets so many per building, so he charges. He said it was okay for this year, but next year I'll have to pay him. Is this normal? I live in a converted house with 4 units. I thought that each unit would be entitled to a yearly pass. Someone comments, your landlord is straight up lying. Probably been successful in the past with this little scam. And someone else writes, the road is city property. Your landlord is a snake. It's bad enough that you have to pay $40 for the year to park on the street, but if the population is high, I guess I can understand needing a parking permit to park on the street if you don't have enough parking in your home. But what a snake that landlord is, trying to charge $100 a month to park on his property or $50 a month for him to spend the $40 to get you a parking pass for the year. Either way, dude is making out like a bandit for anybody who falls for that scheme. My son is looking for a studio apartment around USC, and one that he applied for a couple days ago told us that the owner wanted 6 months rent up front after he and I both paid app fees. No wonder people freaking hate landlords and the management companies that facilitate them. I'll never understand an application fee to apply to live in a home. 6 months up front is absolutely insane. People are struggling to afford rent as it is. How on earth does anybody expect people to pay 6 months up front? And what do they get for that 6 months? If they pay 6 months up front, does that mean they don't have to pay for 6 months? I highly doubt it. Help me make sense of this. Texted my landlord to tell her that the fridge is broken, and I swear to God, this woman responded with, are you sure? It worked fine in 2017. Like, oh, okay, ma'am, sorry, I hadn't considered that. This was a post in 2021. So 4 years, I guess, is a little soon for refrigerators to be having problems, but what exactly was the landlord expecting out of that? Are you sure? Like, when you think I'm just trying to get a new refrigerator for the fun of it? Landlord told me I'm being charged an extra $125 a month in rent because of waterfront views. Look at that window. That must be the weirdest custom job for a window I think I've ever seen in my entire life. All of that custom work to be able to charge an extra $125 a month. I mean, that doesn't even look like it's an inch wide. That might be half an inch. The most that quote unquote window is going to get you is maybe a small breeze. It probably would have been cheaper and easier to just finish the wall and not have that window there. But I suppose if you can charge an extra $125 a month, why wouldn't you do this? Madness. Went apartment hunting yesterday with a 27-year-old desperate to find a home for her and her kids after being unhoused for the last year. Each landlord charged a fee to apply. One required a $60 application fee and a $150 administration fee up front, both non-refundable. The extortion is unreal. Again with the application fees and then a $150 administration fee? What on earth is that for? I don't understand why they would be charging this other than maybe for credit check purposes, but I feel like that would only become important if someone were to actually want to pursue applying for the apartment and having their credit run. Like if I look at a place and I'm not interested, then why on earth would I be paying a fee to just get a tour of the home? Sure, you want me to pay for the background check and the credit check, whatever, fine. But you're not going to charge me to look at the place. That is absolutely unreal. Realizing that my landlord is living my paycheck to my paycheck is insane. One time I sent rent later in the evening on the 1st, and he complained because the bank overdrafted him on his mortgage payment. I am the main breadwinner in my landlord's family. Yeah, that's a little bit dicey. If you're a landlord and your mortgage is due on the 1st of the month, you have a 10-day grace period. You should probably at least wait a few days to make sure that your tenant's rent payment comes through on time before it just automatically comes out of your account. And you mean to tell me that as a landlord, you rely that heavily on your tenant paying on time? Otherwise, it will overdraft your account. That is insane. Starting to realize why I never got my deposit back. This user shared a post from the Landlord Roundtable. A landlord writes, "Has anyone ever had to give back the security deposit? A few months ago, my long-term tenants left my place in surprisingly good condition, and I racked my brains trying to find something they broke, and I couldn't fault them for a single thing. I think it was because it's a newly built apartment. Every other property in my portfolio was an older building with things sure to fall apart. It's got me wondering if investing in newer properties is worth it or not if you don't get to keep the deposit." The whole point of the security deposit is to pay to replace things as needed. You're not supposed to be profiting off people's security deposits. That's wild. The greed is real with this one. LOL at my landlord asking me to pay rent a week early because she can't afford the mortgage otherwise. Insert picture with the caption, "I missed the part where that's my problem." Yeah, for real, right? I feel like a landlord should probably be at least 6 months ahead on their mortgage in one way, shape, or form, whether they're actually early to paying the bank or at least having that much money on hand. Like, what if someone decides to move out and they cannot find a tenant for 6 months? They're just going to go bankrupt. But asking their tenant to pay a week early because they can't afford the mortgage otherwise? When is their mortgage due? How far into their grace period were they to be asking this question? And wouldn't it be really awkward if you were the tenant that was living in a house that was getting repossessed because your landlord was behind on the mortgage payment? If you're a landlord worried about tenants not paying rent, here's some advice. Just rely on your savings. Tap into that rainy day fund. Borrow money off your parents. Sell your iPhone. You really should have planned ahead for something like this. It's not too late to go back to school and learn a trade. Apply yourself. Print some resumes and go hand them out. Oh my god, the sarcasm is real on that one. Clearly, we're just shaming all the landlords on that one. Remembering when I moved out of my first studio flat and I left a box of chocolates and some nice coffee on the side as a gift to the building manager and got charged $20 for the removal of leftover personal belongings. Wow. Can you imagine? I mean, I guess I could understand the confusion if maybe there wasn't a note left with it, but you're going to charge $20 to remove some coffee and a box of chocolates? That's crazy. The greed is real, especially considering the security deposit. I mean, I guess if they didn't withhold the security deposit, which is far more than $20, I guess that's a plus. Just read a client's contract for them, and the landlord has written a clause that bans spices and oils in all cooking. Imagine thinking you had the right to ban flavor from someone's life. That is crazy. I'm trying to understand what benefit as a landlord that would actually have by banning spices and oils. Like, spices obviously can have smells to them, but nothing that's going to keep a lingering smell for that long. Nothing that a little Febreze can't fix, God forbid. And oils? Like, how else are you supposed to cook food if you can't put oil in the pan? Like, you want me to just have everything stick to the bottom of the pan and then have a nightmare cleaning experience every time I cook my meal? And the real question for anybody who really knows the answer out there, could a landlord actually put that in somebody's lease? And could they actually uphold that if they found out that their tenant was using spices and oils? Well, clearly some of these landlords like to nickel and dime on every corner, and if not that, then they're making up ridiculous rules or trying to take advantage of people. Obviously, not all landlords are bad people, and I'm certainly not trying to say that, but in this case, we've certainly found a few bad eggs out there. Let me know in the comments if you have a bad landlord story, and just as a plus, if you have a good landlord story, why don't you tell me about that as well? Because why not put a positive spin on this? See you in the next one.